we're not against the Meiteis. But we have been made victims of the radicalization within their society. I have issues with tagging the entire Meitei community as radical or as having separatist tendencies. These guns which have been looted from the police stations are not one barrel, single barrel, double barrel guns, right? They're sophisticated weapons used by the state police, which has been now
Military
which are now in the hands of the militant mobs. Now, it is a strong belief among the tribals that the valley-based insurgent groups are actually masquerading themselves as people amongst the mobs and leading these attacks. The Mera Paibis have historically stayed silent when their own ethnic militants persecute and harass tribal women. That area is a tribal Kuki-Zomi area. Now, how is it possible for the Meiteis to come and get injured in a tribal village unless they had come to attack the village? Why would civilians come to collect the bodies? It is the job of the security personnel. People are still numb because of what has happened. Not a single aid is being received from the state government. It's being appropriated by the state media as being perpetrated by the tribal community.
Meitei perspective, we know what kind of propaganda they are, running. But the cookie perspective has completely been brushed under the carpet. It is an unfortunate thing that has happened, but if you shed some light on that, because didn't think this is a crucial juncture of
Yes,
the
yes.
ongoing genocide that is happening in Manipur.
Okay. You see, see a bit. Khamenlok is a. It's not a single village. Of course, there's a village named Khamenlok, but also the entire area around that region is called Khamenlok area. It lies in Kangpokpi district, and it borders Imphal East district. Imphal East district is a valley district, and Kangpokpi is a hill district. It's a Kuki-Zomi district dominated. So 12th, 13th, and 14th of June, the villages in that area, I'll name them out: H. Kopi Bung, Khamenlok, Zulou Pai, Pi Pai Nom, Aigizang, Jordan Pai, Songzang, and Govazang. These are the villages located in Khamenlok area. Now, these were the villages that had been constantly under attack by estimates of around 2,000, around a 2,000 strong mob for the past 3 days, 12th, 13th, and 14th of June. Now, this aspect of the news was never highlighted when the national media was made
Mm,
aware of the situation. Right now, when the
mm,
national news coverage came out, it came out saying that, you know uh, 10 people were killed while trying to retrieve their dead inside a church in Khamenlok. Now, the thing is that area is a tribal Kuki-Zomi area, and it has been 1 month into the conflict. We know that for safety, the security forces had already escorted the tribal people who were stuck in Imphal to the hill districts and the valley people to the valley districts so that they will be kept safe. Now, this means that because of the geographical bifurcation that has happened, does it actually make sense for people, for Meiteis, to come and die in a village unless they were involved in the attacks that were happening in the three consecutive days that took place before that news report came out, right? Now, how is it possible for the Meiteis to come and get injured in a tribal village unless they had come to attack the village? And then their claim to collect the dead bodies of previous Meiteis is, it's not actually believable, I think, for two particular reasons. Because if they were coming to collect dead Meitei bodies in a tribal village, it just proves the fact that the previous batch of Meiteis who had come to the village had come there to attack the village, right? And then if the violence has been taking place in a particular area for two consecutive days, why would civilians come to collect the bodies? It is the job of the security personnel to come and collect dead bodies, ensure that they get the proper burial rites that are required, right? Both in the tribal side and the Meiteis side. So the claim that these were civilians, it just does not add up to proper logic. So uh, and yet such news is being used to further vilify the mobs and to terrorize, I mean, to target the tribal communities as being you know, as being the
Yeah,
perpetrators
yeah,
of
it look,
violence.
yeah, it
Yes.
looks like that the people from the Meitei community who have been executed in the Kuki church, they were part of a raiding mob. This is what the information is coming out from Manipur, and unfortunately, this crucial part of the narrative is not being accepted by a lot of people, and especially a lot of I see a lot of Meitei profiles who are using this incident to dehumanize the Kuki-Zo community further. I read an article in Japan Times where apparently Mera Paibis are saying that kill and do horrendous things to a Kuki-Zo woman is the wet dream of Viren Singh of converting Manipur into an ethnic democracy? Is it complete? We are right now in a stage where they just need to flush out the minorities and tribals. Otherwise, that they are ready to usher in their version of zero hour. Your thoughts on that?
See, it is not easy to simply classify women's groups in Manipur or the rest of Northeast India, as just feminist icons. The
Mm,
Mera Paibis were formed around 1977. They had
mm,
taken inspiration from the Nupilan, the Women's War of 1904 and 1939 against the British. And
mm,
the current organization of the Mera Paibis developed out of the Nisha Bandi movements against alcoholism in the early 1970s, right? Eventually, they took on a political organization, mobilization, and these women's groups have always been explicitly political. The best known example being the case of the naked protest held by 12 imas in front of the Assam Rifles headquarters in Imphal on 15th July 2004 against the
mm,
rape of a Meitei woman. Right now,
mm,
this protest actually gave them international attention and has earned them the respect of everyone, including us tribals. However, it
mm,
is important not to look at just the outburst of the Mera Paibis, right? But also the
mm,
silences of the Mera Paibis in order to understand how much of the claim that they are the guardians of civil society in Manipur, how much of that is true. Now, one important case in point that I want to point out is in 2006, there was an incident in Parbung, in the current Perzol district of Manipur, where the Kuki-Zo tribals live, where Meitei militants belonging to the United National Liberation Front and the Kangleipak Communist Party raped and molested 15 tribal women, of which 10 were minors, right? It
mm,
was only with the intervention of the Indian army that these value-based insurgent groups were driven out of those Kuki-Zo areas. Now,
mm,
the Mera Paibis have historically stayed silent when their own ethnic militants persecute and harass tribal women. Although
mm,
the same can be said, for other women's groups, but the saintly image and the celebrated portrayal of the Mera Paibis, uh, it has created this fake image of superiority of the Mera Paibis as being superior to other tribal women groups, right? Which I think is not is which, to be honest, is not the case. So one thing that must be properly understood is that there is a deep intersectionality of marginality, ethnicity, class, and gender in any analysis of conflict, including women in Manipur. Now, what is so shocking is that uh, there have been testimonials shared by Kuki-Zo survivors of the active role played by the Mera Paibis in instigating Meitei mobs. Right on 5th
mm.
May, on 5th
Exactly.
May, there a video came viral of two tribal women being cornered by Meitei men, and the women were shouting, your people," as in referring to us, "your people have raped our women in Churachandpur, in the hill districts. So now we will not spare you." Now that is what they were saying in the video, right? And we later found out that these two women, they did not survive the ordeal. They died, and their bodies were identified in a hospital in Nepal. Now that is the situation. However, now what I want to point out here is the claim that Meitei women were being raped in Churchandpur or the other hill districts, right? uh, when the violence first broke out on 3rd May, A fake claim was being made that a Meitei nurse in Churachandpur had been raped and murdered by the Kuki-Zo tribals. Now, this was fake news. The very next day, the father of the nurse announced on the state TV that this was fake news and that his daughter is alive and well and is continuing to work as a nurse, helping the injured in the hospital. However, by that time the damage was already done. That had already given justifications the the Meiteis to rape and attack the tribal women. Now, another claim was being made in which around 21 Meitei women were had been raped by the tribal men, and their bodies had been identified by postmortem in Shija Hospital. Now, it took some time, but I think after a day or before a day got over, Shija Hospital came up with a statement saying that it did not have the license to do post-mortem on dead bodies. However, the damage was already done again, right? Tribal women were made the victims of these fake of this fake news that was being spread in order to vilify their own women and in order to vilify their own men to rape the tribal women. Now, I think in such instances, it is very hard to say that the Mera Paibis acted as the guardians of civil society, because they fell prey to the fake news that was being spread by radical fringe elements, and they actually were actively involved in the persecution of the tribals. Now, if you have listened to the survivor stories that have come out from the tribal people, one particular story covered by News Laundry tells of how her brother and her mother were killed right in front of her in Imphal, and while they were trying to escape, they were being blocked by the Mera Paibis.
Hmm.
They were being blocked by the Mera Paibis, and the Mera
Mera
Paibis were the
Paibis working
so
as auxiliary.
working as auxiliaries. So it is truly sad to hear of these. It is truly sad, and I do not exactly have words to express that, but uh, we would have expected the women, at least. Now, I know I'm being a little biased, but we would have expected our women to have had a little bit more of empathy and
Hmm.
taken measures to protect uh, innocent people. So,
Yeah, they are calling the cookies of people narco terrorist or something like that.
yes, yes. Yes, a bit. Now, I think it is very important for me as a researcher, and I think for news media houses, to not wholesale, tag a community. Now,
Hmm.
there has been the political propaganda that the CM has been using against the Kukis people, by tagging all of us wholesome, like wholesale. He has been tagging us illegal immigrants, drug peddlers, poppy planters, encroachers on forests, right? Now, a lot of these have been already debunked, especially the population, especially the bit about population, the percentage of population and the decadal population growth rate have been written by people like Professor Lam Khan Pyang in his article in the Quint, where he has given the proper statistics from government sources. So, and I think Karan Thapar has also, like made it very explicit that a population growth of 1.5% within a span of 110 years is very normal. Now, I have issues with tagging the entire Meitei community as radical or as trying to, you know, as having separatist tendencies. I do not believe that that is the case. uh, but I believe that within in the past few years, maybe 5 to 10 years, there has been an increasing radicalization of Meitei society, especially after the coming to power of Biren Singh in 2017 when he first came to power. Right now, since then, groups like Arambai Tengol and Meitei Lipun have also been extra active. Now, a recent news article by Times of India, uh, a report came from the ground which said that uh, these members of Arambai Tengol and Meitei Lipun are actually supposedly surrendered valley-based insurgents who had supposedly surrendered to the government and surrendered their arms, but were actually involved in the radicalization of Meitei society by training, by giving training to lots of these unemployed youth, and by creating a rhetoric, an entire rhetoric, a narrative against the Kuki-Zo population, that all the drug peddlers are from the Kuki-Zo people. These are illegal immigrants from Myanmar. Now we are all border communities. There are 40,000 Meiteis in Myanmar as well, just like us. Just like us, we are all trans-border communities. However, they have been silent about that as well, right? So this is
Mhm.
a selective, this is a selective spread
Tactics.
of information in order to radicalize the Metis community. And I think it is
Exactly.
very important to keep a check at that, and to be very aware that we're not against the Metis. We have been made victims of the radicalization within their society that has been going on unchecked for for the past 1 decade or so. And that is why it has led to the resurgence of this violence, right? Otherwise, the constitutional talks that had been going on since 2008 has actually helped in bringing the conflict situation down in Manipur. And that is something that we all need to work on, the democratic uh, working of solutions. So I think that is how I can put
Yeah.
that.
Next, we are basically trying to understand the sociological relationship that Meiteis have with violence, because we have seen previously also, before the Pangal massacre in 1993. Also, we have seen Meitei nationalists, or if I can use the word Meitei nationalists, they have been engaging in violent activities uh, regarding the Kuki-Zo tribe. One weird picture I saw was, a Kuki-Zo person whose head has been cut off,
Yes, yes.
and this reminds me of the head hunting practices that Meitei people have. And if you can, make us understand the historical aspects of the issue.
Okay. uh Firstly, I'll say the situation in Manipur and the entire Northeast, to be honest, is very complex. It's very complicated. I'll put in a few points, a few things that I think is important to understand. So it is not easy to pinpoint the exact reason for the escalation of violence, the second wave of violence, or even uh, put it into one particular point or that particular point regarding the current violence in Manipur as well. So I'll put in. I think I wrote about it as well, and I'll put in just one aspect. I'll focus on one aspect of this entire thing. Now, if we are to look at the South Asia Terrorism Portal, in Northeast India, there are approximately 15 proscribed. By proscribed, these are like outlawed by the Indian government. 15 proscribed extremist groups, 35 active insurgent groups, 72 inactive insurgent groups, and 18 groups currently in peace talks or ceasefire agreements with the government. Now, the entire Northeast India, it is known for insurgencies, and although this is not something uh, that a region should be known for, uh, this is the sad reality in which many of us in the Northeast have had to grow up in. Now, the thing is, of the 15 proscribed outlawed terrorist organizations, seven of them are in Manipur, and out of the seven, one is the NSCN-K Khaplang, and the rest six are organizations that come under Kokomi. For example, the PRIPAK, the People's Liberation Army of Manipur, the United National Liberation Front, and all the other organizations that come under Korkom. Right now, these organizations, they have never had a they've never come to the constitutional dialogue or table, uh, and their agenda has always been to the creation of a separate Manipuri state or sovereign state. Now such a phenomena is not unique for the Northeast, right? The Nagas have been fighting for a sovereign country, and the same phenomena can be applied for the Kuki-Zo people as well. However, I want to highlight on this important aspect is the importance of democracy and the importance of strengthening democratic institutions. Now, as a measure towards democratic settlement of issues, the Kukizo insurgent groups have been having peace talks with the government of India since 2008, and since 2008 they have been degraded from active insurgent groups to one of the peace talk organizations, right? One of the organizations that are currently in peace talks with the government. Now, this means that the Kukizo demands, the Kuki-Zo desires, and are under constitutional dialogue. However, this also puts them under the suspension of operation, which means that they cannot operate come what may, come what may. And as late, I think as late as 14th of last month, uh, uh, a joint monitoring committee was sent to these camps, and it was found that these camps, they're being occupied by the cadres, and then they're there. I mean, they're there in their camps. They have not left their camps, and their ammunition, their guns were still intact. So it means that the people who are defending their villages amongst the tribal communities are actually the village defense volunteers. However, because of the very fact that the valley insurgent groups, the organizations that come under Corcom, have not come under a single constitutional dialogue with the government of India, their whereabouts, their details are not known. However, what is actually known is that since the start of the conflict, more than 4,000 guns and ammunitions have been supposedly looted. Right? I believe that it has been handed over to them, and these guns which have been looted from the police stations are not one barrel, single barrel, double barrel guns. Right? They're sophisticated weapons used by the state police, which has been now
Military grade.
which are now in the hands of the militant mobs. So now, this is the as a political sociological analysis of the region, it is very important to understand that this creates even if the mobs don't have much training, right? If they have these guns, this creates a very strong tactical advantage against the village defense volunteers who are in their villages. Now, if you look at the conflicts that have been happening since the start of the second wave, these conflicts have been happening in the frontier tribal villages that border the valleys. That means continuous attacks have been happening, and keep happening till now. There was firing in Kangwai. Kangwai is Churchandpur district's northernmost village, which borders Bishnupur district. So there have been conflicts in Kangwai. So it's very important to understand that these are the realities, the like you can say the political and sociological reality in which we live, in which we have a constant conversation and emphasis being made on a particular group of insurgent groups. But on the other hand, there's total silence on the activities being done by the valley-based insurgent groups. We don't know what they're doing, but we do know that the mobs that have been mobilized by the radical groups like Arambai Tengol and Meitei Lipun have stolen more than 4,000 plus arms. Now, it is a strong belief among the tribals that the valley-based insurgent groups are actually masquerading themselves as people amongst the mobs and leading these attacks. Now, uh, this is the anxiety and the suspicion that we have, and I think this is how I can best explain the current situation as well.
We have seen there is a rising, escalating series of violent attacks on Kuki people in the hill area, especially in the villages. How is the diaspora uh, in India as well as outside, and the people in general, Kuki people in general, reacting to such cases of violence? because it is extremely difficult for information to get out from Manipur as well. Except through Chandapur, we are not really seeing information escaping from Manipur. And anything that you can say.
Yes, Abid. So actually, the Kuki-Zo tribal population outside Manipur has the emotional and the psychological trauma, especially after the initial week of the conflict happened, is still very much in our midst. But I think the psychological trauma will take some more time to actually be admitted and really be felt, because I think people are still numb because of what has happened, because of all the violence that has happened, and there hasn't been actually enough time to uh, like connect with the trauma of what has happened. However, even despite the trauma, the Kuki-Zo population outside Manipur, I think we've been doing our best. I myself staying outside Manipur right now, doing my studies outside. I think I'll say a few important points of the contribution that they have been making. The most important contribution that the Kuki-Zo population has been making out from outside Manipur is is towards the relief centers. There are approximately 192 relief centers in total, catering to almost 40,000 displaced tribals across the hill districts. Now, not a single aid is being received from the state government, and these are being run almost exclusively from funds collected by the community members from across the cities of India and outside as well. Now, these relief centers are being run almost on a hand to mouth existence, where they'll receive donations that will last them for 1 week, and then hope and pray that they receive donations again so that they can sustain the relief center for another week. So this is the condition in which the relief centers are being run, especially from outside the state, uh, because of contributions from outside the state. Now, other than that, I think in terms of political representation, the Kuki-Zo tribal communities in various cities have expressed their dissent and cry to the central government. In terms of protests or in terms of mobilizing protests, especially in Delhi, where several protests have been conducted, and I think in other cities as well, in Bangalore and in Bombay, along with other minorities commissions, minority societies, with the help of minority societies, certain form of protests have been conducted, and there's a protest that's been planned for Hyderabad tomorrow on 17th June. So these are the contributions that have been made by the Kuki-Zo tribal population in Manipur with regards to voicing out our grievances. I think this is I think one of the main reasons why the tribal population outside the state is mobilizing so much is because uh, the entire conflict in Manipur, it's being appropriated by the state media as being perpetrated by the tribal community. Now, I think if we look at the initial days of the conflict, a lot of the media content that came out of the narratives that came out of the state, it was fully state controlled. Now, it was only because of the mass opening of Twitter. There was a mass campaign amongst the tribals to open Twitter, to open Facebook accounts, and and voice out the grievances of the tribals by tagging government officials, because that was literally the only avenue we had to express our dissent and to show our side of the story, because otherwise what happened was the state media was being controlled by the state, and it always perpetrated whatever propaganda was being spread by the state. Now, in order to combat that, people have taken to social media, and now at least certain national and independent media, including yours, have listened to the cry and to the deafening silence of the state on the suffering of the tribal people. So I think
Yeah.
these are certain things that the population outside of Manipur has been trying to do, by debunking fake news, for example, and trying to present authentic news, at least from the tribal point of view, with regards to the conflict in Manipur.